to the person. I look naked right now. I am so sorry, but I on your home office desk. Oh, what am I saying? What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome. There is not much going on right now. We are in quarantine. It's week 7 for me. 8. For today's video, I wanted to talk about some of the firsts that I've experienced. First kiss, first date, first situationship, first relationship, first breakup, first time having sex, all of that good stuff. Also in that order. So let's get started. My first kiss happened when I was a freshman in high school. I was 14. I was at a house party and this guy came up to me and held my hand and started dancing. And he was like, "You're my girlfriend now." And in my head, I just was thinking, okay, cool. I was obviously extremely awkward, not knowing what to do, and once the rain let up, he led me away to a secluded corner of the backyard by this playhouse that had people in it. And I remember him yelling to the people in the playhouse, "You already know what's about to go down, you know." And meanwhile, I'm behind him just thinking to myself, I have no idea what's about to happen at all. I'm just willingly shuffling along in my 9 West heels thinking, this is fine. I was basically freaking the fuck out inside. I was so nervous, didn't know what the hell I was doing. Obviously, I had never kissed anyone before. So as he leaned in to kiss me, I decided to let out the biggest disclaimer of my life. I said, whoa, no, I'm so sorry, I've never done this before. Maybe I should have said something beforehand, but I just think that you should know because I don't want this to be bad and I don't want you to think I'm a bad kisser, but I've just never kissed anyone. And he was really nice about it and basically said, that's totally fine, we'll go slow. He pop kissed me, he counted in between every pop kiss and was like, "You're doing so well." Meanwhile, I'm just here sweating. And then we started making out for what was probably just like 3 minutes, but in my head, I swore I aged like 2 years in those 3 minutes. I pulled back and shook his hand and said, "Thank you for that." Just because, thank you. I'm gonna bleep your name because no one needs to know who you are. The guy that I had a crush on asked me out on a date. We'll call him, I don't know what to call him. I was 15 or 16. It was the summer between my sophomore and junior year of high school. And this was the summer that was like the horniest summer of my life. I don't know what was going on, but it seems like every single person was just absolutely freaking it that summer. It was like the jump between Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets and Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban when like they all of a sudden got hot and older. That was the summer between 10th and 11th grade for me. But he asked me out on a date and he ended up picking me up from my best friend's house because I asked her to sleep over since my parents had no idea that I was a horny 16-year-old who was having her sexual explorations that summer. He picked me up in his beige minivan and we drove to this really nice area of Miami. He didn't tell me where we were going or what we were doing, but I saw there were towels in the back seat. Looking back, it was a little suspicious and weird, but you know, we go with the flow at that point. We get to this area of Miami that is really beautiful, and he goes, "Okay, so we're gonna break into this school. It has a really nice view in the back of it." So we jumped the fence of this private all-girls Catholic school at like 9 p.m. and walk around the grounds to the back, lay out the towels, look at the Miami skyline as mosquitoes eat me like a buffet. He ends up kissing me, we're talking, really sweet, and as we're walking back, there is a huge pool in the back of this school. That rhymed. So we skinny dip in the back of this Catholic school. The Catholic guilt that sat within me was washed away in that pool as I was just naked with this man that I was hanging out with for the first time. Dried off once we were done making out and swimming around in that cesspool or sex pool. And then I went home to my friend's place and I had a literal choker of hickeys that was truly atrocious. Woke up the next day and went on my merry way. A new woman, a woman who didn't know anything still. I don't know what I'm saying. So this guy is the same guy that I had my first situationship with, and if you are unfamiliar with what a situationship is, you have probably experienced it, but you just don't really know a name for it. It's basically when you go on dates with people, or you have what you think are dates with someone, and then you realize that you're not actually dating, but you're hanging out all the time and hooking up, but you have feelings for each other, but you're not dating, but you're not seeing anyone else.
But you're not dating.
It still happens all the time. I have had many a situationship in my life. You know, it never gets less complicated. I started seeing this guy. We would have like the weirdest hangouts. I remember he invited me over to his grandma's house to watch a movie. So I met his grandma, but then we went into the back room, watched Django Unchained as I gave him and then his grandma almost walked in, so I had to run into his grandma's bathroom naked to hide from her. I mean, it speaks for itself. Things ended up fizzling out between us, but I remember just feeling confused and hurt by the fact that they ended. I felt as though my hurt was not really justified because we were never dating, so I was like, why would I be upset over this? This isn't even a breakup because I wasn't dating this person, but at the same time, this was the guy who I had a lot more sexual experiences with. I mean, I was being more vulnerable with my body and kind of learning these new things. And that was meaningful for me. Oh, my voice sounds like that was meaningful for me. But it was. I've come to learn that it's fair to feel upset that those things end. I'm like losing track of where I am in this timeline of high school. So at this point, I'm entering junior year. I meet a guy on Twitter and I slid into his Twitter DMs. We started talking. He was a year older than me, so he was a senior, and he went to a high school that was in a different neighborhood in Miami, but it was still pretty close by. We went on a date to the movies. We saw The Theory of Everything, and we made out in the theater during this really sad fucking movie about Stephen Hawking. And we ended up dating. He was my boyfriend for 9 months. And let me tell you, when you are 17 and you are dealing with undiagnosed anxiety and depression, entering into a relationship with someone who might not be the most empathetic human being at that time in their life is probably not the best idea. I don't regret the relationship, but it was not great for either of us. It was my first real relationship, so I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and it showed. We both were just so immature and stupid and feeding off of each other's worst qualities at times. There's a lot of tears, a lot of intense emotions, first I love yous. I also still have the bear that this guy got me for Valentine's Day. It's really good to just squeeze and cry into at 2 a.m. when you're sad. So he was going away to college and he initially wanted to break up at the end of the summer, which I didn't necessarily love because I didn't want to be dating someone with a relationship that had an expiration date on it. And so this was cause for a lot of conflict within our relationship, a lot of deep talks and crying in his car. And eventually, as the summer began to come to a close, he wanted to try long distance, and we ended up with him going away to college, and we were both like, okay, let's try this. Let's see if this can work. First week of him being in college, awesome. Texting me, calling him, like just having a grand old time. Second week, it was like a switch had flipped. Complete radio silence. I just remember not necessarily understanding the signs that he wanted to break up with me, even though they were very apparent. At one point, I had written him a poem that was me stating the ways in which I miss him, and he got so angry at me. He texted me that he was so pissed that I sent this to him because there's nothing that he can do about it, and then proceeded to tell me that he was going to turn off his phone for the night because he was so pissed that I sent this poem, and then just didn't text me back and turned his phone off. So I was just there like, what? But I still didn't realize that he was gonna dump me and he ended up breaking up with me over text in my 5th period class, and I went to the bathroom and sobbed for a good 20 minutes. And the next day I went to an Ed Sheeran concert with my mom and sobbed yet again. And that was my first breakup. I wish I could give my younger self a hug, because I only framed this breakup as you did something wrong and that's why this is over, not perhaps this wasn't the healthiest relationship and there were multiple factors that made this thing end. I wish I could go back and just tell young Claudia, it's okay. It's both of you, and you're not, well, you are stupid, but you're supposed to be stupid when you're 17. Let's get to the good stuff. The first time I had sex, it was June 2016. I had just graduated high school. I was in a new relationship. I loved this guy so much. And I was putting off having sex for quite some time because, quite frankly, I was scared to have sex. His mom was leaving to go walk his dog, and we were all horned up, and one thing led to another, and his penis just ended up inside of me. And it didn't hurt. I was expecting it to be the most painful experience. I was expecting blood, but it wasn't painful. I had tried to have sex many times in my previous relationship and it just did not work because I was too tense. There was no entry, none. Doors closed, but I would bleed. I'm pretty sure I either broke my hymen from that or from the time that I put in a tampon in the 8th grade and then got too nervous to pull it out, so I had to listen to One Direction and have my sister pep talk me through it. You don't know you're beautiful. But either way, it happened. It honestly was not the most life-changing experience. I didn't feel like a new woman. I just was like, oh, that's what sex is. And then we had sex like 3 more times that day because you're just like, oh, I need it all the time now. It was good. It was with someone that I trusted. I was expecting it to be like that scene in Ratatouille when Remy bites the grape and the cheese and it's just these flavor explosions and just this beautiful crescendo of sensation. It wasn't like that. It was more, it just happened. I feel like there's a lot of expectations surrounding the first time that you have sex. And especially for women, this whole concept of virginity is really entrenched in our upbringing, especially if you are religious. I don't know what that noise was. I was brought up in a Catholic household and I went to private school, and this whole idea of purity, virginity, saving yourself was really drilled into me through my schooling, but it made me feel as though having sex was something that was going to alter me as a human being. Set these expectations that, oh, sex is going to be something that makes you a woman. It didn't. I was a child when I first had sex. No, that's a weird thing to say. Never mind. I was not a child when I first had sex, but I was young. It didn't bring me any wisdom. It didn't make me into a completely different person. The next day I woke up and I was just like, I'm still me, but now I'm a little cooler because I fucked. Just kidding. But after having sex, I was not marred. I was no longer pure or anything like that. I was just Claudia. That's it. That's a very rudimentary takeaway, but I think it's one that's important, especially for young people to hear. I in no way want to invalidate others' religious beliefs. If you want to save yourself for marriage or if you want to be completely celibate, totally your choice. And that is a respectable choice in many ways. That's today's video. It is short, it is sweet. I hope you guys have a great week. I hope it's better than the last. It can only go up from here. And if you have any suggestions as to what kind of videos you want to see, please just comment, message me, whatever way you want to reach me. And as always, if you liked this video, please like it. If you like my channel, please subscribe. I really appreciate all the support that I'm getting, and having this channel is just making me feel more productive and more fulfilled. So thank you all for your support. Until next time, I guess. Bye.